Season. It's all over after tonight, and then playoff time. Hello again, everybody. Pat Foley from Chicago Stadium, where the Hawks take on the St. Louis Blues, who last night handed Chicago a 4-2 defeat in St. Louis, and tonight the teams wind up the regular season facing off against each other. And as we come into the action tonight, the playoff situation is a little bit uncertain still at this point. The only way the Hawks will not be playing St. Louis in the first round will be if the Hawks lose to St. Louis tonight and Toronto wins their game, and they're playing in Buffalo tonight. So both of those things have to happen in order for the Hawks not to play St. Louis. The Hawks have to lose, and Toronto has to win. So otherwise, it'll be Chicago and St. Louis must also win. Well, the Maple Leafs have to lose to Buffalo. So again, Toronto is in Buffalo tonight. If they lose and St. Louis wins tonight, then the Hawks will be playing Toronto in the first round. Any other combination of things that might happen, and it'll be the Blackhawks and the Blues in the first round. Hope I didn't take you up too much with that one. The Hawks and the Blues tonight, then, in the season series, Chicago with 5 wins and 2 for the Blues. So this will be the 8th and final game of the regular season as the Hawks and the Blues square up, and we'll hear from Orval Tessier after this timeout on WIND.
If you're Orval, it's game number 80 and a rematch with the St. Louis Blues, who handed you a 4-2 loss last night. With the playoffs starting Wednesday, would it be safe to assume that maybe you'll go back to a little bit more of a normal pattern in terms of the players you use? I think last night was, to a degree, maybe a little bit of an experimental game for you to get some guys some ice time and whatnot. But would we expect you to maybe go back to the regular ice time patterns?
Well, I would like our team, Pat, to play well here tonight because it's a springboard to Wednesday, and no excuse for our performance last night. We did not work very hard. We did not play well. Also, as you said, we inserted people who deserved actually to be put in the lineup because they had been patient, and we saw Troy Murray come up with a pretty good hockey game. But I think tonight we're going to get back closer to what we need for Wednesday night, and I think it's only right. And hopefully our guys will realize that wherever we play, we have to be at our best at all times. We just can't walk along and turn it on and off. So hopefully tonight our guys will realize, hey, we had our night off last night. Now let's get back to work.
Did you think the Blues, from what you said, I would guess that your opinion would be that they maybe had a little bit more intensity. Did you also felt like they maybe did a little bit more hitting than your guys overall?
Oh, definitely. Oh, they were more physical than we were, Pat. And I don't know whether we were, as I said, maybe not as well prepared as we should have been. Maybe I relaxed a little bit, and we took it a little bit different. They skated better. They outplayed us in just about every phase of the game, and they are going to be a force to reckon with in the playoffs, and we know that. And hopefully tonight, then we try to beat them here, and if we have to play them, sort of let them realize that we're ready also, and we have to be that way.
Orval, you mentioned Troy Murray a moment ago, and he may have been your best player last night. I'm curious about this. About the only thing Troy Murray did wrong last night was he lost a couple of face-offs in your zone, and the second one led to a St. Louis goal. But what I'm curious about is, if I'm not mistaken now, towards the end of the second period, you're down 3-1, you're still in the game. There's about 40 seconds to go in the period. There's a face-off in your zone. If I'm not mistaken, you threw Troy Murray back out there, and that to me was kind of interesting. Were you trying to maybe get a little confidence factor built up?
Well, he lost a couple, but he was pretty good on them after that. And the one that he lost that led to the goal, he miscued after. He had the puck after that, and ran off the end of his stick right out to LaPointe, and LaPointe shot and scored. Well, I thought he had done a real good job, and it was an accident, actually, that he come to throw the puck out, and the puck just sort of moved away from him. And I was looking and said to myself, well, he certainly isn't loafing. As you said, he was our best player. So deservedly, I said, well, this is a game to put him in some key situations. And if you remember also, I used him to kill penalties, and I think he did a pretty good job at that. And I am not looking just to tonight, and I'm not looking to just the playoffs. I am looking to the future. And a good right-hand centerman killing penalties is very important, because then what happens there is that if you get a face-off in your zone and at the rate that these linesmen are taking guys out of the face-off circle, you have to have two face-off men out there at all times in your own zone, or else you can get nailed out there with a forward left winger or right winger taking a face-off. So with Gardner able to take some face-offs, and now Troy Murray is capable. Ricky Patterson does a very decent job on face-offs. That means that we have three face-off guys in the penalty killing department, plus Tommy Lyjak, who gives us four, and we'd have two on each side. I think it's something that we've thought about as far as Troy is concerned. I think he can kill penalties, and very effectively.
What does he do now? I mean, coming off a good game like that, what do you do for your lineup tonight? What'll be the changes, if any, from what we saw last night?
Well, they're all going to go out in the warm-up. 22 of them. Kurt Fraser will not dress. The injury is not serious whatsoever. If this was a playoff game, he would dress, but Dr. Cole asked me not to dress him because of the situation. One thing I can tell you, that is that Troy Murray will be in the lineup. I mean, off his play last night, he certainly deserves to get another shot at it here tonight.
Okay, the St. Louis Blues, I guess it's really not determined yet whether or not you'll play them in the playoffs. I guess you got to feel like you probably will. You feel like you're going to get at least a point out of this game, and hopefully two. We talked about the physical play last night, which they certainly had the better of. Do you mention that to your guys? Say, hey, this is our building. Let's get ready for the playoffs. Let's gear up. Let's have, hopefully, maybe one of our better games of the year to springboard into the postseason play.
Well, this will certainly be part of our conversation. We have been tough here all year. We have played very well here all year. We've played the Blues well here all year, and we just don't want to turn around. And if we don't play them well here tonight, I don't think we'll play them in the playoffs. And like I talked to two or three guys a little while ago, one player asked me, who do you want to play? I says, I want to play the team that we're playing tonight and beat them. Then we'll take what comes tomorrow morning. That's the way I look at it, because if you start picking and choosing and dropping games here or there because you're not quite sure who you want to play, that's not the way to play hockey, and you just learn bad things. And I told a few of them, I just want to play the team that'll be there tomorrow morning. Let's win tonight. And that's what I told them last night, but unfortunately it didn't materialize.
Another chance tonight. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's Orval Tessier. You've been listening to the Hawk pregame show. Now stay tuned for Chicago Blackhawk hockey.
Here's the first period summary now. The Chicago Blackhawks controlled the play for most of the first period, and they got on the board early. In fact, at the 1:12 mark, here's what happened. Dennis Savard scoots over the line, far side, rolled it for Larmer. The shot, he scores! Dennis Savard flew over the blue line of the far side. He left it for Steve Larmer, who blasted it by Liut, or Hines, I should say, low on the glove side. And Larmer, with his 42nd of the year, now has scored more goals than any right winger in Blackhawk history. 1-0 in favor of Chicago. Larmer with his 42nd of the year, breaking the record for goals scored by a right winger. Larmer from Dennis Savard and Doug Crossman at 1:12 to get the Hawks out to an early lead. Then as the game wore along, Andre Dorey and Al Secord went colliding into Rick Hines, the goaltender, who I don't think saw them coming. Hines had to be lifted from the game at the 8:13 mark. Mike Liut came in, he warmed up, but 7 seconds later, here's what happened. All right, here's the draw now in the St. Louis zone. Liut is on for the Blues in goal. Here's the face-off, hit right in! Steve Larmer from the near side, centered one, and Dennis Savard deflected it in. Mike Liut came in at the 8:13 mark, and at the 8:20 mark, the Blackhawks have deflected one by him. Savard scoring his second point of the game, and the Hawks lead 2-0. Dennis Savard with his 35th from Steve Larmer at the 8:20 mark for that 2-0 lead, and it stayed that way until late in the period when the Hawks got a nice passing play from Doug Wilson and Bill Gardner, and this was the result. Now the draw taken by Doug Wilson to center, over the line to Gardner. Oh, we had the defense beat, now centered it, they score! Steve Larmer, off a pretty pass from Billy Gardner, who was in behind the Blues defense, almost left the puck behind, but he corralled it, then put it into the slot, and Larmer banged it in for a second of the game. 3-0 Chicago. A power play goal goal for the Blackhawks. Larmer is second of the game, 43rd of the year from Bill Gardner and Doug Wilson at the 18:06 mark to finish up the first period scoring. The Blues had 3 minors in the first period. The Blackhawks had just 1. And the shots on goal, the Hawks had 10, the Blues had 8. 20 minutes in the books here in Chicago Stadium. 3-0 in favor of the Blackhawks, and we'll be back with Keith Brown right after this timeout on WIND. Here's the second period summary now. The Hawks came in with a 3-0 lead, and they increased it at the 4:20 mark. Here's the play. Murray in center now comes to the line, shoots, and a save by the rebound. Patterson, he scores! Ricky Patterson picks up the rebound. And the Blues were a little slow in getting after the rebound. Patterson hopped on it, fired it by Liut on the 6th side. 4-0 in favor of the Blackhawks. Ricky Patterson with his 13th goal of the year. The last time he scored was 19 games ago, but Patterson with his 13th from Troy Murray and Doug Wilson at 4:20, and Patterson, who had a long goal-scoring drought, was not done yet for that second period. He was killing a penalty when this took place. Ricky deflected it right on, and Liut beat him. Now here's Patterson, a short-handed breakaway, right in, he scores! Short-handed goals this year. Ricky Patterson has every one. That was his 14th of the season, his 3rd shorthander, unassisted with the 11:53 mark on a breakaway. Then the Blues broke the Hawks shutout with Morgan Pettersson. Shot one in from the top of the near circle. Pettersson from Dory and Dunlop at 14:59. The shots in the second period, 12 Chicago, 9 St. Louis. So the 2-period totals, the Hawks with 22 shots and the Blues with 17. But on the scoreboard, a lot wider gap than that. It's the Blackhawks 5 and the Blues 1. We'll have the 3rd period shortly. Now to the studios for all the scores and the sports news today. I'm Pat Foley on Talk Radio 56, where Jack Stockton now is ready to give you all the news.
Thank you, Pat. It's
And it's saved by Liut, and the regular season is all over. Have blown out the St. Louis Blues 7-2, the final score, as they tune up in fine fashion for Stanley Cup action.
St. Louis goal scored by number 11, Brian Sutter, assisted by number 35, Jim Pavey, 1926. St. Louis goal scored by Sutter, assisted by Pavey.
The 3 stars and the shot total will be before we break away.
Coming up with the Budweiser Robinson Jewelers 3 stars. The game's number 3 star, Chicago's Teddy Stars. Number 2 star in the game, Chicago's Rick Patterson. Robinson Fielder, number 1 star in the game, Chicago's Doug Wilson.
Final 7-2. Hawks will be back after this.
This is the Chicago Blackhawks postgame show with Pat Foley. Brought to you by Budweiser Light. The light beer with a clean, distinctive taste worthy of the king of beer. Bring out your best with Budweiser Light.
Here's the game summary now. 17,439 here in Chicago Stadium tonight. They saw the Hawks grab the lead early. Steve Larmer is 42nd of the year from of Dennis Savard and Doug Crossman at the 1:12 mark to open the Hawks with a 1-0 lead. Then Savard scored his 35th from Larmer at 8:20 to make it 2-0. Then it was a power play goal from Steve Larmer, his second of the game, 43rd of the year, from Bill Gardner and Doug Wilson at 18:06 as the Hawks outshot the Blues 10-8 in the first period and took a 3-0 lead into the second. That was when Rick Patterson scored his 13th of the year from Troy Murray and Doug Wilson at 4:20 to make it 4-0. And then Patterson came right back for a shorthanded goal on a breakaway. He has all three of the Hawks shorthanded goals this year, and his 14th of the season on that shorthander, unassisted at 11:53. The Blues finally got on the board. Jorgen Pettersson from Andre Dory and Blake Dunlop at 14:59. The Hawks out shooting St. Louis 12-9 in the second period and took a 5-1 lead into the third. The Blackhawks added to it when they had a power play chance about halfway through the period. Here's what happened. There's Wilson moving in, centering, they score! Darryl Sutter in the second minute. And the Hawks with their second power play goal of the game lead it 6-1. Darryl Sutter, the power play, scoring his 31st of the year from Doug Wilson and Dennis Savard at the 9:48 mark. And the Blackhawks struck again just 18 seconds later. Here's what happened. Marsh dumping it into the St. Louis zone. Now chasing after it. Centering. Higgins. He scores. Peter Marsh working hard to set up Tim Higgins. And Marsh outraced the St. Louis defense to the loose puck. He sent it one to Higgins, who buried it beyond the use. And the Hawks now lead 7-1. Higgins is 14th of the year from Peter Marsh and Dave Famester at the 10:06 mark. And the Blues wound up the scoring. Brian Sutter with a tip in from Jim Favis at 19:26. The Hawks out shooting the Blues 10-8 in the third, and for the game, 32 Chicago shots and 25 for the Blues. Once again, the three stars tonight, boy, is pretty tough to pick because you had any number of players who could have figured in there. Steve Larmer had 2 goals and an assist. And I'll tell you what, how about Greg Fox? Played one of the best games he's played in quite a while. He really set the tone of the game, it seemed, in the first period when Fox was very physical. He was hitting every St. Louis player that moved, and he would certainly deserve strong consideration, or at least honorable mention, in the 3-star selection. But the 3 stars were Dennis Savard, number 3, Rick Patterson, the 2nd star, and Doug Wilson, the 1st star. There's your summary. We'll be back after this.